What is up? Welcome into the Creed of Crypto podcast. I am Broke Boi Crypto. I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. Am I still on the air there? Yeah, I thought I messed with my mic.
Yep.
We have got a heck of a show here for you tonight because in normal Richard Hart fashion, just minutes before we decide to go on air, he announces straight from the horse's mouth, PulseChain Mainnet will be live within the next 7 days. This isn't hey, a dev told me, or just some word of mouth type thing. This is Richard RH himself saying that PulseChain Mainnet is live, not yet, but very soon, within the next 7 days, which is very interesting. We're going to cover a whole bunch of angles with that. We got a lot to cover tonight. We're going to talk about where BTC is. We had the CPI interest rate crap announced earlier today, which we'll get into as well. But we're going to push all of that to the back end, and we got to just tackle the big piece of news here. We had plenty to talk about in the way of Hex and PulseChain, of course, tonight. But now, again, in Richard Hart fashion, just within minutes, again, as before we go on air, announces PulseChain within 7 days. So, Ewok, first off, how are you feeling? We're going to get into how you're feeling about all this. But again, what do you say? Another Wednesday night surprise from Richard. What do you think about this?
Yeah, we love the the things that he brings us on Wednesday nights so that we can announce it first. I think it's happened 3 or 4 times now. It's been pretty cool. I'm super stoked. It's been a long time coming, the culmination of about 2 years of waiting. Finally coming to fruition. It's pretty nice. Getting excited.
Yes, it's not to sound overly dipshitty, I guess, but it's almost like surreal that it's actually happening now. There's just been so many angles of game theory, PulseChain, all this stuff talked about for the last 2 years, and to actually see, like I think you put it in the green room there, put up or shut up, like what are people actually going to do when this thing is here? So we're not going to have to wonder about it for too much longer. So if you guys are here, pound the like, sub to the channel. We will announce that real quick, and I don't want to go way too into detail. We're going to bring you this coverage on PulseChain. But as you can see, if you're watching on what was formerly the Broke Boi Crypto channel, still the same channel. I haven't really changed anything, but we did a rebranding just totally to the Creed of Crypto podcast stream. Ewok and I, obviously, it's a team effort. We have our videos out every single day and are just churning out content for you guys on all things DeFi, primarily PulseChain and Hex, obviously. And we're going to continue to do that. Felt like a rebrand was kind of necessary for it. And if you're in the chat, hit us up with some questions, hit us up with comments. Ewok, I'll let you kind of tackle your part of that with your existing Crypto Ewok channel and what we're going to do going forward here.
Yeah, like you had said, we're going to move strictly to a Creed of Crypto channel. So this will be the last one that we do live from my channel. I know you have more of a following than I do, but I know I have a few that are diehards, and I just want to get them in the right place on Wednesday night. So, yep, we'll be exclusively Creed of Crypto. I don't know if we'll keep them on Twitter or what we'll do there. Maybe we'll figure something out. Maybe we can send them off on the Creed of Crypto channel as well.
Yeah, we should be able to. Yeah,
at the same time. So. But either way, just wanted to, let everyone know that does follow my channel, that this would be the last live stream, at least on there, and everything will be strictly Creed of Crypto.
Yep, we will be together on here until the end of time. So yeah, every single Wednesday night we do this at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hit us up with a like, hit up your comments in the chat. We want to hear from you guys specifically tonight, and we want to hear your speculation on all things PulseChain and anything else that we're talking about, because there's some interesting game theory here on even how close we are to launch and when this is actually going to happen. So before we were going to go on air, the notes that we had previously was Richard back on Sunday, actually, I noted, was talking about that it seemed like Pulse could have launched basically that night by how he was talking. You've been able to tell for a few weeks now that things are extremely close just based on things he's saying. He said, surely you've used the test net to familiarize yourself and have a plan for PulseChain, which I think when I sent that to you, Ewok, you called it a tease, which I think is right. But also in the background, I think he is trying to talk to the core people, the people he really appreciates that are, actually the strong hands, diamond hands holding Hex. to, make sure you do get in there. He's basically saying, hey, it's close. I'm just not going to give you the whole kit and caboodle here. So what do you make of kind of his lingo leading up? And then again, we messaged each other right away. I think it was right about 5:45 or something like that Eastern Standard Time tonight.
Yep.
It's first tweet, how's everybody doing today or whatever. So what are your thoughts on kind of like his lingo and stuff on Twitter leading up to it? And with him now saying, I mean, he had a bit of a tweet storm, 5 or 6 or so in the last 3 hours about this before specifically definitively saying that PulseChain Mainnet will be live within 7 days. So that's what I'm most interested in your thoughts on. When do you think it happens? Why the announcement? Give me all you got on it.
Well, so I was surprised that we got even that much of an announcement because, if you remember correctly, he said there wouldn't be any warnings. But, again, to your point, I think he is giving the people that are there for him, the ones that have been supporting him all along, at least a common courtesy reach around here and saying, here's it's going to be a week. Within a week, guys, no more 2 weeks, no more, soon, or no more, and none of that stuff. We're gonna narrow it down. We're gonna say within the week it will be ready. I don't think we'll get definitive anything else other than that. My thoughts are probably this weekend sometime would be a good launch date. A lot of people get paid on Friday. Usually Fridays are a good day. Weekends are probably even better to get some sort of traction, playing around with the network and all that good stuff. So I think it'll probably happen, honestly, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, some point. Keep in mind he is in Europe somewhere ish, so his late night becomes our early afternoon kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's good. I'm glad to see it from him finally. Like I said, we've all been waiting such a long time. There's just how more excited can you actually be? And I think I'm just going to sit back and watch. I don't really have any plans other than to get connected. These gas fees have been just outrageous, and it can really only play into our hand with giving people some nice almost free transactions where they can do pretty much everything that they were doing on Ethereum. So looking forward to it, man.
And I'm glad you said that too, because that was going to be the theme of our show tonight. It still will be, in addition to talking about PulseChain Mainnet actually launching here soon. But the title of the video really that I made was "Have Fees Made Ethereum Useless?" Because it's been untenable. I mean, to complete basic transactions in, I'm not calling this a bear market still, but we're certainly not in hyper bullish times right now or anything.
Not even
these
close.
These are not gas prices that you typically see. This 2023 is the equivalent of, like we've talked about before, in the last cycle of 2019. You were definitely not seeing anything like this during 2019. These prices are more like bull market of last cycle. So it is extremely needed now. And I think the timing, we all knew that he was suspected he was purposefully timing some things, but I think the timing is going to be pretty impeccable here, because we have people that aren't even aware of PulseChain, or maybe just burying their head in the sand, bitching about ETH fees every single day. Yeah. So, I mean, you're really cornering it at a perfect time, especially when all else that you have helping out Ethereum are these other layer ones that are old from last cycle, or new layer twos that are all not providing anywhere near the financial opportunity that PulseChain is, or the as good of a blockchain. So, with the Arbitrums, the Optimisms, and then the stuff from last cycle, obviously Solana, Phantom, all the other layer ones. So, yeah, I mean, this could not be coming at a better time. And I think, what do you make of that, Ewok? Well, let's get into it. You have the chart pulled up here. We are pumping big time right now, obviously, off this news. After an initial sell-off, I want to get back in a minute to some of the gas stuff and people coming over to PulseChain. I had a question on that, but let's look at the chart here. And we did see, I shared with you a tweet from our friend Sami, obviously, before we went on the air, that someone in, I think it was one order, sold like 7.7 million hex for about $500,000.
Yep.
Assuming that Richard's tweets were saying that the snapshot already happened. I don't know why people do this stuff, but Yeah, assuming that we went down to almost 5.5 cents, we're literally already a penny up, more than a penny up from
Oh,
that.
it's
So
7.3. We're at
holy
7.3
shit.
cents.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
I
this
gotta
is
refresh.
yeah, this is Uniswap V2. Let's take a look at
Oh
the
yeah, you're not kidding. Wow.
7.3. Yeah, here's the trading view. 7.328. Getting a nice
Wow.
kick. So yeah, I mean, you and I talked off air a little bit about this too, and I get frustrated when I hear that snapshot terminology because it's being used wrong. And I hear a lot of people say, "Well, it's just easier. It's easier to tell them it's a snapshot." Well, no, it's not. Want people. One of the things that Richard has always done was educated people. He's pounded truth and education into people's heads. And we go out and we sound smart because we listen to what he's saying. We should not be giving these people the incorrect terminology on snapshot or fork. you know it's a fork. Let's give an example. You got Ethereum chugging along, chugging along, chugging along, and then all of a sudden, at the whatever block height it is, it forks. Boom, there's your split. If you want to call it a snapshot at that point, I guess that's what it would be, but that's the block height of the fork. So then you have PulseChain and Ethereum running side by side, and it's a mirrored thing for the first couple blocks, and then as things are different, it becomes a different chain. So I hate when people say, "Oh, well, we think snapshot already happened." It's not. It's a fork. When it's live, it's live. That is your snapshot. The fork is the mirror. You get your exact copy of everything, and then they start to become their own chain at that point. So I wish people would use the correct terminology and describe it right to people
Well,
rather than call it a snapshot.
Well, it is actually misleading. I mean, like you said, to call it a snapshot is misleading because clearly it is, because it's made all these people think that there's a moment in time that may have already happened even
Right.
right now prior to mainnet being launched, that everything you've got that's an ERC20 token, that status has already been clipped. That's just not the case, like you said. So yeah, I think that, and we were talking off air too about like one of our videos before. Basically, I made a thumbnail stating like why there will not be a PulseChain snapshot, and somebody got butthurt about it in the comments, saying like, "Oh, that's misleading" or whatever. Well, I think it's misleading to say that there is a snapshot.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
clearly more misleading. So, um, I'm
Yep.
totally with you.
Snapshot is a moment in time where you took a picture of something, and then time goes on and it reverts back to that particular time. But that's not the case. That's not what we're going to have here. It's going to be a true hard fork of Ethereum, and that will be the moment in time where you get all your copies. So don't go thinking there's a snapshot that already happened and you're going to try and game the system, because you're be left out in the cold when you have no coins for your copy.
Well, I can tell you now, with Hex approaching 7.5 cents, I definitely have a hard fork at the moment. So things are
Yeah.
looking pretty good. Tell me what you think about this chart here on the short term. I mean, like we've talked about this ad nauseum. So has every other Hex person on Earth. But when we actually do get the fork, when the mainnet is live, we think obviously that there will be a sell off, just kind of like you saw teased a little bit ago with this quote unquote snapshot stuff of people selling off EHEX to buy over on the Pulse side of things. So we're pumping now. Where do you think? Well, first off, I'll give you two questions here. So Richard Hart said 7 days. So he loves us. Obviously, he loves our Wednesday night streams. So that means by this time next Wednesday on the 17th of May, we will have PulseChain Mainnet. So when within that time frame do you think it happens? You already alluded to like the weekend, maybe Friday or something like that. When do you think it'll happen? And what do you think this price action does? Where could it specifically get to with a mainnet announcement that we now have heading up to that? What kind of sell-off level do you think we go down to afterwards? Just kind of see if you can kind of give me a little prediction on all these angles here.
Well, you're asking a lot, but
I
I
am.
think
I want you to get it 100% right too.
well, okay. We're going to nail it here for everybody. So
Okay.
the crystal ball is telling me that, like I said, Friday or Saturday, I think is our launch day. I could see with this kind of positive news, we could get a couple dumpers step in there. People are going to trade like normal. But I could see us getting back up to 10, 12 cents pretty easily. Once it launches, then look out. I think it could probably dump by 50%. I think we could probably get down if we go, um, I don't know, 10, 11 cents. We could probably get back into that 6 cent range. Because again, people are going to try to game the system. They think they know best, and they're going to play their games with the trading. I could see that happening. Nice little run up, big pullback. And again, we'll have to see how Ethereum kind of plays out. I think if this takes enough weight off of Ethereum, it could help those gas prices immediately.
Mhm.
And we may not see too big of a impact on Ethereum prices. So I do think we see a lot of buying though. It's going to really, really depend on how the liquidity pairs are set up. It's going to be interesting to watch. That's why I said I'm just probably going to sit back and watch the action and watch the prices. But if testnet is any indication of what's going to happen, I think we'll see a nice little hex on Pulse. We'll see a nice little run up there pretty quickly with that. Just people getting in and making their stakes and doing all kind of crazy stuff because again, you've got sub penny fees, so
Mm.
it'll make it fun for them again, and hopefully it alleviates some of that pressure on Ethereum though, because I have a couple stakes that I've got to end that I've just been waiting for.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is going to be the big thing, what you just said about the behavior leading up to it and having a theory of sitting back and watching. That's something that we've preached and talked about on this channel, obviously, for quite some time. I feel the same as you. It's going to be super tempting. I mean, even right now, as we sit here right now and people are, sitting at home watching or whatever and looking at the charts and just seeing the price go up like this, there may be people, well, clearly there are, the price is going up, FOMOing into Hex right now, obviously, um, which is still good. I mean, hey, it's still under 10 cents. I think that's pretty much an auto buy
Yep.
at this point. But knowing that you could have had this thing at 2 cents a mere not even 6 months ago, is a crazy thing to think of, and it will be even crazier, I think, as we go. But talk a little bit more about that, Ewok. And I'm not really talking about specific strategy, but the emotion as we do get the mainnet launch here of trying to sit on your hands during this. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be doing anything or trying to catch some early allocations, but what about somebody who just is destined to wreck themselves? Like, just has a trigger finger. They can't sit back. They got to participate in this action. Is there any strategy that you would offer them to try to temper that behavior down, or how do you think you would go about that? And again, I'm not talking about you and me necessarily, because I am like you. I'm able to kind of just coldly go through this and let things settle for a little bit and DCA over the next few months into whatever I want. But yeah, what would you say to that person who's just like, I gotta get some action going here?
Degens are going to degen. If I could, just be careful. The ratios are going to move crazy. Like, we're already seeing this up to 7.5 cents within a matter of minutes.
Mm-hmm.
With ratios and a new network and a lot of things happening, the prices are going to move pretty crazy, and rather fast. So you better be prepared for some failed transactions. And I think that's going to be another thing too. There's going to be so much happening. The price is going to change so quickly that by the time you figure out your order, get something set, press the button, I think it could change already. And you're going to end up with a failed transaction because the price is no longer what you set it at. Not because the network isn't working, but because the price has changed so much from the time you actually thought about it and clicked the button till it actually went through. And it's probably going to be a failed transaction. So just watch. I can't really give any other advice than that. You got to have to sit back and let things calm down a little bit. those first several hours of it are going to be nuts. There's going to be some crazy movements. There's going to be some big buys, probably going to be some very big sells too, because there's some actual people that are just fed up and they want some sort of return. So I can see a 5-10x pretty quickly, and then a bunch of sells because they think that's enough. I've waited long enough. I want my money. And just be patient. Watch what's going on. And if you're not in there playing around now, and that's your plan is to get in there and do things right away, and you're not in there messing around right now, you're really asking for Wreck City, I think, if you're not preparing yourself. It's almost like a boxing match. If you're not training now, you're going to get in there and get punched in the face.
Yeah, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, like Mike Tyson, I believe, once said.
Yeah.
But and also, I guess what I was trying to lead to too is like if you are somebody who just feels like you have to do something, just do it with a responsible portion of your portfolio. Like if you feel like if there's no way you're going to be able to white knuckle yourself through this thing, take a very small percentage if you want to play around a little bit. I mean, again, you like Ewok just said, you could have been doing this all along on the test net, but I do understand at the same time, that's like telling somebody that's, trying to get into like sports betting or trading or something. Oh yeah, just paper trade for a little while. Some people just need to have skin in the game or they're not going to care about whatever the endeavor is. So I understand if, we're not going to tell anybody what to do. We both feel restrained enough to not really do anything or take any action other than, like you said, connecting, moving some stuff around if you want to. But and
onboard people. If you really want something to do, onboard people. Like that's the most effective thing you can do rather than trading coins. Tell people about it. Get tweets out there that, hey, this network is brand new, just launched. You might want to check it out, man. Ground floor. Word of mouth advertising for this. It's kind of our job to onboard people. And I think that's one of the most important things that we can be doing if you're going to be smart and sit back and watch, is to get people involved and get them over there and show them how to, connect to the network and flip the switch on MetaMask and do those kind of things. One of the most important things, I think.
I think so too, and that kind of leads me into this conversation we have been having about ETH gas fees, just for crypto normies and stuff like that. That again aren't even talking about PulseChain or just choosing to bury their head in their sand about it, whatever it may be. It's been a thing. It's reaching everybody. I mean, you can see Bob Lucas tweeting about the ETH gas fees. Like everybody is talking about those fees. So again, perfect timing again for PulseChain, and something that you can talk to people that are having these issues on ETH and show them where you can get much cheaper transactions immediately on a great network. But that leads me to this, and if you guys are here and enjoying the content so far, hit the like button. We very much appreciate it. Hit us up with some stuff in the chat too. We got a lot of angles to talk about here tonight. So we definitely do want to hear from you too. But I want to ask you this. We've talked many times about like the Ivan on Tex. I'm really sick of BitBoy, so I'm really kind of hesitant to even use him. But like the bigger influencers and stuff, and Ivan on I shouldn't even throw them two in the same sentence. Totally different. But the bigger influencer channels and stuff that have chosen to gatekeep, not talk about PulseChain or Hex ever or very sparingly. To me, more so than Hex, and the fact that we've talked before, Hex is getting into its second cycle here. It's going to prove even more, validity to people like that maybe had their suspicions before, even though they ape into PEPE and shit like that.
Right.
But with PulseChain actually coming and being like a layer one, which everybody likes to whack off to, I mean, there's so many different layer ones. Do you think that maybe PulseChain has a quicker time of it with these influencers and stuff like that are having trouble minting their NFTs or whatever the hell they're doing on ETH, starting to talk about PulseChain? Because to me, I mean, like there's already not a ton going on, and we were going to get into like the meme coin season we've been seeing and stuff like that here too a little bit, and asking whether that's indicative of like, are we in more bullish times yet? Like why this stuff, the PEPE and everything, is more of like a bull market type thing. But with all these things happening, do you think PulseChain coming up, rising with this huge crazed community with hexagons, does it get on the main page of, say, a guy for what's his name? I forget his channel. His name's Guy, British guy. Anyway, Coin Bureau, like
Coin
some of
Bureau.
these big mecha channels. Like, what do you think happens? Like, what could it be expedited in PulseChain, get on the front page of some of these type places here over the next couple of months?
So I think one of the big things that we already know is a lot of those guys sacrificed, but they still haven't really been talking about it too much because they don't want to push something that, you know, hasn't launched yet. So once it does, believe me, I think they're really going to talk about it, only because we know the Moon Carl, we know BitBoy, we know Ivan, we know Box Mining. Some of those guys, we know that they've sacrificed. So once this launches, you can bet on it that they're going to be talking about it. Especially like you said, with this gas prices being the way they are, it's been crazy, and this is just a precursor to a bull market. And we're seeing 80 to 100 on an average day. There's not much going on, and you're seeing these, crazy Gwei prices. I believe it hit 100, it hit 200 earlier today. It's just, I don't even know what time it was, but I know it was this afternoon. I looked and I was over 200 again. So, and again, there's not much happening right now, especially for those kind of prices. So I really think it will be talked about. I think it'll be Coin Market Cap will probably list it. Maybe we definitely won't be locked at 201. I don't think. But
Right.
we'll see how far they go as to what they list. Because it is a layer one, because there's different things about it that will be more beneficial for them to list. They'll be able to list it on their exchange pretty quickly, probably. I think you'll see it listed on a lot of places. So yeah, I think it's going to happen exponentially faster than what happened with Hex, and then it can only really help Hex, because we will be the main supporters of the network, and they'll see that the hexagons are there still, and there's this coin sitting on there that's easy to transact and make some yield on. I think we're going to catch on. I really think the gates will come down for Hex this cycle.
I definitely do too. Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Again, because like we talked about it would be its second cycle, gaining more validity to those people, but mainly PulseChain. Like I said, everybody loves these layer ones and stuff.
Yep.
And man, Richard's just nailing the narrative right now. I mean, like for weeks, people have been talking about these ETH gas fees, and like you said, Gwei up over 100. Which literally in December, I was doing all kinds of stuff at 10 Gwei.
Yep.
I mean,
I know.
absolutely insane. Yeah.
8.2 cents.
8.2. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Up over 8 cents. Yeah. We're going to run for a little while here, I think, with Hex. But I do want to ask you, and I'm not trying to get off topic or anything. We're still kind of staying in the realm here because I want to talk about these ETH gas fees. Because remember, ETH, even though the thumbnail or the title may say this, like ETH isn't dead and ETH isn't going to die. And it still is, the largest chain that people are doing things on. It's the most well-known smart contract platform that there is in the world right now. So do you let's talk about some strategies for people, because obviously people are going to be interacting with Hex for the next 15 plus years, obviously, on Ethereum. So it's important that they also do understand ways to kind of optimize things there while they may be on board more to PulseChain and look to move more transactions there. But on Ethereum, for example, Are there any strategies, Ewok, you can talk about? Now, we'll get into actually setting limit orders to buy and sell, I guess, if you technically want to, Hex, on Ethereum for much cheaper, which is, I think, something that most people don't do. They're used to just buying market price through Uniswap. But in terms of actual transactions, do you have any strategies for people about setting transactions, like little things you can do to lower the gas fees if you are ending a mint or even buying Hex or whatever it may be? People I know in the past have talked about lowering the fee, but trying to do a higher tip somewhere in the
Mhm.
settings for the validator. What are some of your ideas around that? Because again, yeah, PulseChain is here and we're happy, and that's what we're going to talk about. But people are still going to have to transact on ETH. So,
Yep.
what are some of the strategies that you use?
Well, so I'm using one currently, and it's been about 2 days, I think. I set the GUI at 40, and I put the tip up to like 6.5, which was like a $30 tip, I think.
Hmm.
And the transaction still has not been accepted.
Wow.
So it's kind of just hanging out there. I haven't seen it get any lower than 70 or 80. So I'm hoping if it falls to 50-ish that someone will grab it. I know the validators can see the transactions that are out there and see that if there's a tip in there for them, like a priority kind of thing, they can include what they want on a less full block. So that is one of the strategies that you can use. Now, I don't know how close you have to be or how far off that they'll include them. I guess it really depends on the validator that's going to grab it and take the tip. But it's kind of been a test for me to see how close. I couldn't justify spending another $400 or $500 again to end a stake. So, yeah, and I have
Right.
two of them that are, that are really close to, or two of that are done, but I have 2 weeks. So,
Right.
to answer your other question, buying Hex, even if you go to matcha.xyz, set a limit order with USDC, you can set it for the current price. As long as the price fluctuates just a little bit away from it, if you set a limit order for the current price, the bots have to have a little bit of room to transact, but you're not going to pay any transaction fee. The person that is making that market sell will be the one that pays the fee. So keep that in mind. You can actually do buys and sells if you do limit orders, and you can pretty much do it right at the price that it's at. You don't have to set the limit order way far off or whatever. You can set it for the current price, and hopefully catch one of those and get away with a gasless transaction. Because, as I said, with limit orders, the person buying or selling into your order will pay the gas fee. So that's a nice little, um, you know, freebie kind of thing. Um,
Yeah. Go ahead.
I know you did it the other day, and you're like, "Oh, well, shit, I didn't even know about that," and I'm going to do that from now on. It just makes sense, especially when the gas fees are really high. So,
Yeah, well, I knew about it, but it's one of those things where like setting limit orders versus just wanting to buy. But it really, yeah, you don't really have to set. I mean, you don't have to try to scalp a low price or anything,
no,
like you said, Ewok. I mean, you could literally just set it for right where the market is, presumably meaning you're easily going to hit your target pretty soon. So,
yep,
I think it kind of lends itself probably to like. I mean, everybody can do whatever they want, but I think it probably lends itself a little bit to maybe bigger DCAs, if you want to just throw like a big chunk in or something like that at once. But yeah, it's absolutely the way to go. I mean, if you don't have to pay the fee, I mean, yeah, maybe you don't have the pleasure of just immediately watching your order go through and adding it into your portfolio or whatever. But I'd rather just not waste money.
yeah,
So
exactly, exactly,
yeah. So yeah, matcha.xyz. I put it
yep.
in the chat for everybody as well. And I think
Yep.
most people are aware of it, but I mean, I don't hear it talked about too often. I mean, usually people just talk about the classic Uniswap way of doing things.
Right. Well, and there is Uniswap v3, which is the way of, setting your liquidity, basically, is what you're doing as a sell wall. So if it goes up into that, you'll end up if you put hex in there to sell, um, you'll end up with USDC or whatever it is, but you have to pull that USDC out. Or if it goes back down, it will refill as hex. So you have to kind of be very careful of that, doing it that way. So
Yeah.
there is another strategy though that people aren't really talking a whole lot about, with making stakes, because we don't know what it's going to be like in 15 years. And I think people forget the HSI
Mhm.
thing, and there are a couple different platforms out there that are kind of pooling together. You can set a pool with a date and things in there, and if people have so long to get into it, and then it starts, where then everybody at the end of that stake will chip in for the gas fees. It's not all on your shoulders. So that makes it nice as well. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it. I know there were two different groups. One was Magic Carpet Ride, and the other was the pool party um, thing done by the dip catcher guys from Maximus and Decimus and,
Oh
and
yeah.
and that group. So a couple different groups, just but something to look into. Where if everybody's going to kind of chip in on the gas fee, it makes it nice. One person pays for it, and then as you end your stake, you pay a little bit of ETH, like one percentage of whatever the final amount was, and then it kind of reimburses that first person. So it's
Right.
pretty cool ideas. We have some very smart people that are uh, in the community that have created some things to try and mitigate some of these costs. So take
Yeah,
advantage of them.
and yeah, definitely good on you for mentioning the HSI stakes, which is just a hex stake instance. Now, you actually do those on icosa.pro, correct? That's where you
Correct.
can,
Yep.
yeah, do them out of there. So basically, what that is a way that you would do your mint or your mining of hex, basically, and it is you actually be able to take collateral out on it right away with the hedron that you would hypothetically earn over the course of the hex contract,
Right.
or of the hex mint, I should say. Could you talk a little bit more about that? And have you chosen to do those a lot? Because I think some people are hesitant just because I don't know, maybe they just having never done it before, they want to make sure they're just interacting directly with the hex protocol or whatever. But yeah, it is another good way of doing things for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple HSIs. I get bored with the regular contract, and I think I'm like, I might as well let's do one of those today, instead. So yeah, I mean, basically, what it does is it goes through the contract. It still goes through the hex contract. You're making
Right.
with it with the hedron stake instance. But like you said, you can take collateral out right immediately. You don't have to. You don't have to do any of that at all. But you always have that option, to where you could pull value out of it. 5-10 years down the road, if you have a 15-year stake, and you want to pull some of that value out, you could take a loan against it.
Hmm.
And who knows what hedron will be at that point. As long as you
Yeah,
pay
really.
it back, your instance is still good. It's when you don't make payment that then goes up for auction, and somebody else has a chance to buy it if you don't pay your loan back. So
Hmm.
it is a good alternative. As far as unstaking goes, I don't know how efficient that'll be yet. But again, it can't be any worse than the straight up hex contract is. Hopefully, it'll save people some money there too.
Yeah, for sure. Different ways of doing things for sure. So yeah, turn to matcha.xyz to actually buy EHEX, which I mean, clearly everybody is right now. I don't know how much in the near future people would just be looking to buy EHEX because we know what people are going to be doing on PulseChain, obviously. But definitely good things to know to lessen these ETH gas fees. And we're hoping the PulseChain obviously puts a big dent into that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of what most of the
Well, and
purpose
we're
was.
also hoping that the Ethereum guys fix the problems too with
Yeah.
with the roll ups and things like that they want to do down the road. So
Hmm.
maybe Pulse Chain will kind of light a fire under them to get their problems fixed as well.
I hope so, and I do think it is showing that maybe not only in like the use of the network, but we've talked about this before, but also in the price appreciation of Ethereum. I think we're just going to start to see some bloat on Ethereum because we've said this before. Like Bitcoin is obviously you're going to get diminishing returns each cycle with pretty much every token, every crypto at this point. And Ethereum, while so many people are unbelievably bullish on Ethereum, remember you are now seeing like more and more old heads or like Bitcoin only people that put Ethereum right there with Bitcoin now. Maybe not like on par, but they're talking about it. I'll tell you
Yep.
this, if you start hearing Michael Saylor like saying that he's buying Ethereum, you might not want to invest in Ethereum any longer.
Yeah, might be time to sell.
It might be time to get out. Which, by the way, Saylor had a really good interview on the Patrick Bet David podcast the other day. I listened to all of today. It was a nice two-parter. But yeah, so if you guys are here and enjoying the Pulse Chain talk, and we're going to get into a whole lot more here in a moment, hit the like button. We very much appreciate it. We do this every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I saw earlier flashed up there, Grounded in Hex, said he had a failed transaction just a few minutes ago. Yeah, it really sucks. Not only on the price appreciation, I mean, glad the price is appreciating, but yeah, when you have this kind of rapid price action and a bunch of people buying PEPE or the Ben token or some other horse shit somebody created this week, that's what's going to happen. So, rounding off some of our midterm distant, I guess, future stuff with Pulse Chain here. So, there's been a lot of things, and I posted a poll about this on the YouTube channel the other day, which I can look at here in a moment. But what would be Ewok your conservative to aggressive target for amount of X's that you could see? First off, where do you think PulseChain and PulseX will start at in relation to sacrifice price for people? Knowing that the launch literally is imminent now, not just people saying it's imminent. So, where do you think it launches at, and an amount of X's for each one of those? Which one do you think performs better over I'm just talking the course of this cycle. So for spitballing it, we'll say by the end of 2025, assuming that we're kind of starting to complete or get to the top. I know you kind of disagree with me on the timing on this, but of the next bull market, what do you think are the conservative and aggressive estimates for the amount of X's each one of those could do here?
I think it's going to really surprise people. I think we're going to do far more than what people expected. I don't know if you caught the tweet or not from Richard today about how you can set the rewards from the validators to a burn address.
Yeah, I did see.
People kind of didn't really talk a whole lot about that, but what if the OA, who will probably have several, if not hundreds of validators running to support the network, turn around and burn all of their rewards? That is super bullish. I mean, it's going to burn probably 60% of the rewards, making it pretty deflationary. I think, people are I'm seeing 10x, 100x, whatever. I think we're going to melt faces. I think really good things are coming, and it's going to surprise a lot of people. Yes, we're going to have some major sell-offs, but I don't think they're going to last long. If you look at the Hex chart and what it did, how many 60, 70% pullbacks there were along the way, and it still did a 10,000x. I think you're going to see something very similar with PulseChain and PulseX, both of them, because they have such game theory built into them. Especially with PulseX having the buy and burn, and now PulseChain having the validators that are just burning coins left and right. It's super bullish. I don't think people are prepared for what's about to happen. They're being super conservative. I'm seeing 10x, 100x, maybe. Um, as far as launch, I have no idea. I really don't even know what to expect for launch, but I don't see it sitting there very long at all.
Mhm.
Maybe dipping around there for a couple weeks until we find a floor, and then taking off. I just we're in for something pretty cool, and I think people need to get ready for it.
I think you're right about that. Now, I will say I haven't seen too many people saying just 10x. I mean, maybe I would think you are too, but I was going to say maybe I'm kind of in the hexagon echo chamber or something. But yeah, 10x would certainly be a disappointment. I mean, like
Well, very.
we're looking, I think, conservatively thinking that Hex itself will do a 30x. So yeah, Pulse Chain doing anything less than that obviously would be shocking. But yeah, I would think well over 100x for likely both of them. But
Yeah, I'm talking thousands. I'm talking thousands of
I figured
X's.
you were. Yeah, I
Yeah,
figured you were. And let me ask you that, because what I wanted to ask you is I personally don't see I mean, I do see people calling for thousands of X's on both of them, frankly. Now, maybe I'm just in that hexagon echo chamber or something like that. But I guess, like, where do you feel like you're seeing the sentiment that people, not that, multiple hundreds of X's is anything to sneeze at. I mean, that's ridiculous, obviously. But, you lived through obviously day one. I mean, you were on the t-shirt, I think, tonight, Hex OG. So, I mean, you lived through day one of that. There you go. And, saw the 10,000X. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, even though there's like Hex cheerleaders out there, and I'm not saying that like just women, I just mean like everybody out there that are
sure.
just Pulse Chain is going to be amazing. Yeah, okay, yeah, we know that. That's cool. But I mean, there's lots of jumping up and down and people like getting uber stoked. But like, um, I'm always wanted to like temper expectations. But talk about that, like how even though those numbers seem crazy and people just will throw like, oh yeah, 10,000x around like it's nothing, that really could be possible for these being
Yeah.
Richard Hart creations in the way that he actually built these things.
Well, and that's the way he designs a lot of things. I think Ethereum did a 14,000x in the first few years, from its launch price. So he models a lot of these things after what has already happened and designs
Mhm.
them with better game theory, better proponents, that make the price go up, because he knows as well as we do, price is the only thing people care about. And honestly, that's the way it is with most of these. So they're designed with that in mind specifically. So, when when he said Hex was designed to do a 10,000x in under 2.5 years, and it did it in, just over two, um, now it's a no-brainer. Now
Mhm.
everyone, unfortunately, though, expects it from
Yeah,
every coin, not
right.
just Richard Hart stuff, but they think it's going to happen with PEPE. They think it's going to happen with
Well, it did
Ben.
happen with Pepe. How dare
Well,
you say that?
right, but they think it's a given with all these coins, and just knowing that the bull market is getting close, and people are really getting anxious. That's what kind of fed into all these other hype of some of these other coins right now. It's not a normal thing, and for them to get back to that level, they once they pull back, that's going to be the real test of time. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. Do you want to? I don't know if you wanted to stop sharing your screen there so we could see our the hex chart, unless you want to leave it up. I mean, we're seeing some epic green candles right now, but I think people also love our faces too. So
you
whatever you want to
think?
do, whatever you want to do. If you want to leave it up, I mean, it's a pretty epic night. So, but yeah, I am with you. I mean, like, it's one of those things where you do see people throw around those crazy X's numbers all the time, but it's like there's a reason they do it in this community because they've actually seen that before, and they've seen the follow through, obviously, from Richard, and it's I know we say it all the time, but like really community is the biggest thing in crypto. Like,
Sure is.
and that's what people that are not in this market yet or not fully into this market just do not understand, and I get why. I mean, legacy finance, you're not talking about like those boys over at General Motors, just they all really, I mean, it's not going to be like that in legacy finance, but that's what it is in crypto. And, that's something you learn in this market. So,
Yep.
yeah, I guess my last question to kind of round off this talk with launch coming, and we have obviously talked about this before, but now here we are with it actually coming in the next 7 days. We know, I've said this because there's been polls by many people run on it. Somebody, I think it was Rags to Riches, just did one the other day, and he had a really good stream. He has had a couple really good streams lately about like I'm assuming you saw them, but like day one strategy and stuff like that. But we know that people want to get PulseChain is the that's what that's the asset they actually want to buy, because most people did not get a chance to sacrifice for it. Way more people, I think almost like double or maybe more, sacrificed for PulseX than they did Pulse. So there's going to be many people that have been buying EHEX possibly this whole way through. They're going to either sell off their EHEX, bridge it over, sell off some PHEX because they want to buy Pulse. So even if you're someone who is in that seat, which again, if you're watching this, chances are you are, based on all the facts I just laid out. To me, it would make sense to pivot and go the opposite direction. I mean, like now again, PulseChain itself could, and I think should probably outperform PulseX in this cycle. I don't know for sure, obviously, but if the ratio gets extreme, and I'm not saying a ratio trade, I'm just saying if once you see established prices, if the ratio between those two is drastic, you may just want to double down on PulseX. That's something that I've thought about myself too. So talk about that. I mean, you may have written down on a nice sheet of paper your little investment strategy, and it's like going to be, 60 or 50% hex, 25% Pulse, 25% PulseChain or something, or PulseX. But hey, you may want to go against that at first, because it may just not make sense to buy the higher priced asset at that time, and then just kind of, slowly over time work your way
back in.
Exactly.
I think that's the smartest thing to do is kind of observe and move, kind of, because we don't know which one will take off first. I think you're probably right. I think because of a lot of people got in on the PulseX sacrifice, they will probably try to get some of that Pulse asset right away. But you may want to just hold off and wait until the ratios get a little closer. I think in everything that I've seen that it probably should be about I think, what was it, 3-to-1 ratio? One Pulse equaling 3 PulseX, something like that. So if it gets too far away from that, buy what's on sale and then wait for it to come back and take advantage of it. So, you're gonna have to watch. It's gonna move quickly. There are going to be people taking profits. You're going to see dips. You're going to see, I hate to tell people that because the last thing we preach is sitting and staring at a screen. Excuse me, but I think it's going to be exciting for the first couple days. And if you really want to capture some of those good deals, you're going to have to pay attention.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And I don't think it's necessary to stare at the screen. I think this is something that, people should realize that over the weeks and months, into probably the third quarter here through the third quarter, I mean, we will have lots of opportunities to kind of keep re-examining what these ratios are between the two, and just DCA, remember, you are still early if you're not doing a bunch of crazy stuff on day one. You're early if you sacrifice. Remember, you did at least get your foot in the door right away, but also you're going to have chances here for months now. I mean, just look at, and I don't want people to take this literally, and I've done this before, but I'm not comparing PulseChain to something like a Blur, that NFT platform, or these, Arbitrums and Optimisms and stuff like that. I'm just comparing them to other recent token launches. And I don't think it's going to go necessarily exactly the same way, but traditionally with any asset, I mean, it happened to Hex. We've talked about that a lot here too. You are going to see the price come back down and settle. It's not just going to be released and go up only. It's not going to be released and do what Zen did either. So it's going to be somewhere in the middle. So you want to make sure that you realize that there is time. Don't do anything crazy right away. You will have time. You're going to, think about years out from now. I mean, I know we always say in crypto, when in doubt, zoom out, but it's a cliche that is 100% true. And you just got to realize, like, look around YouTube, guys. Like, nobody other than people that have been in on Hex already for months, if not years, are even talking about PulseChain right now. I mean, almost nobody. That means you're early still. So
still very early.
Yeah. So,
man. Well, and again, once it does launch, like I said, you're going to hear a lot of big names talking about it. And I think that momentum itself is going to pile on as well. So be patient, take advantage of some of these dips, some of the pump and dumpers, let them get in, let them get out, and take advantage of the sells, and just be sitting there waiting. Have some dry powder, have some coins that you are ready to switch into. I still do not agree with the stable coin method at all. But again, to each his own, and do whatever you want. But they're not going to hold value unless you.
Let me just get you to clarify that. Or you're saying people that might be holding like USDC or Tether right now, assuming that you're going to get a copy at full value and then using that, right?
Right, exactly. Yep, it's not going to hold its value. You might get something for it, a few cents on the dollar, but you're not going to get full price. So I don't know. I see a lot of stable coins still sitting in wallets, and it makes me wonder what their plan is. Now, if they can bridge it in for full value, that's one thing, but you're not going to get your copy. Your copy is going to be pretty much worthless. So just keep that in mind.
Maybe they're buying right now. Maybe it's all disappearing right now and they're buying Hex. That would be good.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, do keep that in mind because, not that we think it's going to go exactly like the Ethereum proof of work, but we've used that as an example many times that when Ethereum changed to proof of stake, those stables did not hold their value at all over there. I mean, they went straight down. So it will be interesting to see, on the other hand, though, what tokens will potentially do well over there.
Yeah. It's going to be which communities it's going to be which communities have the will to go over there and build. Don't forget, we're going to have several of the different Aragon and Lighthouse, and so there's plenty of different platforms for them to build within PulseChain. So no matter what they really know how to code, it's going to be easy for them to move stuff over to that network.
Yeah, definitely. I know people have speculated like Shiba Inu over there, which makes a lot of sense. People are going to hear it, but earmuffs. But I think Zen obviously would do really well there, and Jack will be motivated to do all kinds of crap there. Really, not even just that. It's just that there's a lot of Hex people that mess around with Zen, obviously. So, but I think it'll go beyond that too. I mean, I think there'll be other like DeFi things that have been around for years that could have success over there. So definitely going to be something to watch out for. And, we know there's a lot of people that invest in things that are not just Hex, even if Hex is still the overwhelming majority of their portfolio. And it'll be interesting to see what does find success over there. And obviously you want people to use the network. So, should be interesting indeed.
It's going to be fun. Going to be fun. Excited.
We got 7 days. So, maybe he makes us wait the whole 7 and we'll have something to talk about right away when we go on air next week. But I tend to agree with you. I do think it's going to be, it would make sense for me for him to just give a big window of 7 to get people with that, keeping that number in their mind, maybe bigger whales or traders or whatever, assuming 7 is concrete. And then today's Wednesday, this is out on Friday or something like that. I think that would be really cool. So be ready. For sure. PulseChain is actually now imminent. So if you guys are here and enjoying the stream, hit the like. We appreciate you joining us tonight. Throw some questions and stuff in the chat. We're going to spend a little wee bit more time just kind of covering the greater crypto markets and some of the things that happened today. BTC did kind of get its first significant dip in a little while over the last few days, and then had like crazy volatility. Wow. with what we're seeing with Hex right now, I shouldn't call it that crazy, but some for Bitcoin crazy volatility over the course of the last 24 hours as we led into the new inflation reading and then off of the inflation reading. So we had a lot of action. We are still in a macro uptrend, but in a micro kind of downtrend here with Bitcoin. I could see us kind of bouncing down to that. We've already been in the 27s, but down to that like 26 and a half. I think worst case scenario, 25 and a half range or so, which has been like a big level of support here in the short term. But it's gone all over the place today with the CPI reading. And that, I guess that's the other, if you want to call it good news, I don't even really know what to call it, but that number did come in today, the core inflation at 4.9% against an expected or priced in 5%. So big whoop, that's 0.1%.
Yeah.
But either way, usually meeting that number or coming in under it in a positive way like it did will pump the market. And that's exactly what did happen off the news, but then it dumped again. So I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. Short-term volatility, but what do you make of this, Ewok? I mean, like the kind of thing that I said here is, it's 2023. We've said this countless times, but we're going to have this kind of one step forward, maybe two steps forward, one step back throughout this year. And I don't think anybody should get really all that upset in their non-hex, obviously, crypto assets right now with minor pullbacks this year. It's just something that you're going to see. So what do you make of the short term with the market? And what do you, my bigger question will be with the inflation coming in at this great number and under expectations, what do you look forward and forecast for the Fed here next month? Because June 14th is the next FOMC meeting. Do we see not a pivot, maybe not a cut, but are they done raising rates, do you think, maybe after this?
Well, good question. I think I still think we see one more rate hike, a small one, 25 basis points. I think people are honestly, I think no one cares. I think it's gotten to the point where everything is so priced in, it doesn't really matter. It's not affecting markets too terribly bad. Jobs are still strong. Yeah, I just think people don't care. I think they're ready to be done with it. It is my honest sentiment. And I think that, I think we just kind of keep trucking along. I think the markets kind of go sideways, like we've talked about, being choppy for the next few months until we see a full pivot. And then toward the end of this year, you start to see things really take off. So now PulseChain is going to be a different catalyst, I think, because of the excitement, because of the newness of it, and because of the community that surrounds it. We could actually kick off the bull market on PulseChain and then have things kind of trickle back over to the other markets. So that could be interesting too.
Yeah, I could see something like that happening. Yeah. I mean, just this gigantic ecosystem of Hex users and everything. Yeah. It's kind of like, for the people that aren't involved in it yet, it's like, what's that thing over there everybody's flipping out about? And then that kind of spreads out into other things. What did Andrew say here?
He says, I'm late to the party. Looks like there's going to be a lot of meme pumps during the slow time. But I don't know, Andrew, if you saw Richard Hart's tweet. I know you're just getting into the stream here, but he did announce within 7 days we will have PulseChain. So
if you didn't catch that, basically rewind the entire show so far and watch from the beginning, because that's all we talked about for the hour. Yeah. But I want to ask you something about like this meme crap that's been happening lately off of this CPI question, actually, Ewok. So now that we know PulseChain is here, and again, like you've talked about kicking off the bull market kind of with that, definitely I think there's credence to that. But prior to that announcement, because we didn't know PulseChain was actually imminent until today, but this recent meme coin season, kind of head off by PEPE, and then I think there was a couple other, I don't even know what they were, but like some other tokens and stuff. But PEPE was the big one that did like, actually all told, I think it did like from the actual bottom, maybe I'm wrong on this. I think it did like 100-some thousand X or something like that from the actual bottom. I mean, I have no idea who actually bought that or was involved in it or anything from that
Right.
low. But with this meme coin stuff going on, the PEPE thing kind of reminded me of bull market vibes, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe it's just being in the crypto bubble, I guess, and PEPE kind of took crypto people by storm. But it wasn't like, for example, I remember seeing this like housewife on Facebook, which is pretty much Facebook's entire demographic at this point,
Yep.
talking about asking about how to buy Doge during the lockdown season. That
Yep.
that that was a different time. Like that was actually a bull market, I did not see that with Pepe. So I mean, we are getting these and I'm just trying to like identify where we are with sentiment. I don't really care about these things in terms of buying them. I'm just trying to identify like, is this indicative of us being in a more bullish time already than we think? Or is it kind of the former of what I said, and this is just like crypto bubble psycho stuff? You know what I mean?
It's a little bit of both. It's the shiny object syndrome. People are ready for this to be over. It's been such a bear market, and people just want it to be done. So they're latching on to the very first shiny thing that runs a little bit. I know some people that have made some pretty crazy profits, and I'm like, dude, you're messing around with some of these coins, and you're going to end up losing all your profits and then some. In fact, a guy I work with, he said, I bought Pepe and it did this. And then I went in and bought this. And now I'm buying Ben coin. And I'm like, stop, dude, you're going to
What?
lose. Yeah. So, you know, anyway, they're getting lucky. They're getting very, very lucky. And I said, it's going to come back to bite you. You're going to, you're going to put everything in and say, this is the next one. And I'm going to catch it and ride it. And then you're going to lose everything that you've earned. So,
Yeah,
I think it's the shiny object syndrome. I think people are kind of being just. It's the early bubble, the pre bull market run up, and I don't remember. I kind of remember last year. Everybody was so hyped on Hex that I don't remember a whole lot of other things, but I do remember a couple of early run ups. I think Shiba Inu had a nice little run up early on last cycle as well. There were a couple other things that did pretty well early on too.
right.
So yeah, we're in that position there where I really think that people are just getting excited, and they're going to have to probably lose a little bit of money before they get serious and learn. Usually that's the cost of education is getting caught in a rug pull or two before you take things seriously. And that's kind of where we're at, because Pepe goes, and then this one goes, and then this one goes, and now everybody thinks, well, I just got to buy them at the right time, right? Get in early, sell, profit. But then they get caught because somebody sees that, they create a rug pull, liquidity's gone, and now you've got nothing, a bunch of worthless tokens. So
Basically everything the BitBoy is doing currently.
Yep,
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, and with the Pepe thing, it's one of those things where like you said, I just don't think. I think it's there. You just got to learn by losing money. There's just no way to avoid it. It would be fun to, it'd be nice if we could just educate everybody and they would listen, but that's just not how it's going to work. You got to pay your tuition basically in crypto, and it's an expense. It's it can be as expensive as the worthless college degree you have. Let me tell you, because you're going to come in, you're going to buy Pepe or some other crap at the top because you only heard about it because some guy who was doing one of these.
Yeah, your taxi driver told you about it.
What's that? Yeah,
your
exactly.
Taxi driver told you about it.
Exactly. Yeah, Travis Bickle. But yeah, that's something you want to. That's just what's going to happen. You learn by losing the money. That's just what's going to happen. And I find it interesting too. Like you were just talking about, like at the beginning of the last cycle, what was running up and everything. This has been an interesting year. Number one, that it hasn't. It's just been not constantly negative like 2022. So it's been nice that things are going up, obviously. But each quarter, we've already had a meme of sorts. I mean, we already had AI was the start of everything. It was like that fetch coin, fetch.ai or whatever. Everybody's talking AI all year long, obviously, but there's all these AI coins and everybody
and
creating a new AI thing.
the
You know,
gaming coins, and then
well, gaming's been around, but like specifically this year, I mean, you're right. There's always going to be rug pulls in gaming too. But I mean, there was that, and then there was like these Chinese coins and stuff that was going on with China, and then now we've got just full blown idiocy meme season.
yeah.
So,
Well, you always
yeah,
have a Chinese Ponzi happens to at some point.
true.
So,
Yes,
um,
yeah. So,
but to this question,
mhm.
PulseX will launch here. So that says, thank you, Crypto Ewok and Broke Boy, for constant streaming. Now the question is when PulseX? Within 7 days. There's your best answer that we can give you. It will launch when Pulse launches at the same exact time. So
Yep, yeah, we
hopefully
are
this
there.
weekend we're there within the next 7 days. We'll have it. So
Yeah, and I do tend to agree. I think the early part of that 7-day window could be when it is, which would be freaking awesome, and I think catch some people off guard. So,
yep,
um, yeah,
yeah,
DCA all the way. But yeah, this stuff. Not to end anything on a negative note, but the stuff that BitBoy is doing right now, just as a caution to everybody, like I've pretty much done a total. I shouldn't say 180 because it's not like I ever really liked him that much, but he was kind of getting himself into good graces. He had RH when RH was in the States, co-host his show with them and stuff like that. You know, oh, he was just messing around. But yeah, like he was getting himself a little bit more in the good graces. And then like the theatrics, whenever the FTX stuff happened and Sam Bankman-Fried and BitBoys going to the Bahamas to stand outside the building and confront
yeah.
SBF. I'll be honest, I don't think BitBoy gives a shit about any of this. I don't think he cares about people that got wrecked by FTX. I think it's complete theater. I think he purely is doing everything for himself. I think it's 100% all about him.
I'm
And
sure.
yeah, he enjoyed the theatrics of going down there, and he does his acting as if he's really angry about stuff and had his little outbursts and stuff on his show and everything. Now he's got his own Ben token that every day he has some new announcement about
Right.
after PEPE, and he's been rotating his money into all these meme coins and telling people. I mean, it's just run away. I mean, do not watch BitBoy.
Yep. Go the opposite way.
Yeah. Crypto
Stay,
Wonder Podcast. Hey, we appreciate that. Smash the
smash the
likes.
likes.
Thank you very much. If you guys have enjoyed the stream, definitely hit them. I wanted to this is just a quick thing I wanted to mention. If you don't invest in this token, that's totally fine. Just something that I personally wasn't even aware of, and this is something that I do hold in my portfolio. And I don't have any coins, so this is like me, going down into the depths to find something to talk about here. But the only piece of GameFi, I guess you would say, that I hold is GALA, which launched a couple of years ago. They seem to be doing, some of the more interesting things in the gaming space. And it's a very small part of my portfolio, but I thought it was interesting. The recent market has dipped, somewhat hardcore, and alts have kind of bled over the last few days. And I saw GALA in particular went under 3 cents. I mean, it really retraced. It was down like 15% in one day, which is a healthy correction, but it also had a healthy move up when it had some other announcements a couple months ago. But I was like, why the hell is GALA dumping so hard? Well, I didn't even know this. It's actually splitting and becoming there's a version 2 coming of the coin, like just a replacement of the token.
Interesting.
Yeah, on May the 15th. It's only 5 days away at this point. So just as a courtesy kind of announcement to anybody that may hold it, because I do think some of the stalwarts of GameFi probably find their ways into some hexagon type wallets. I think some people might be slightly open to some of those ideas. So I only hold a little bit of GALA, but yeah, so basically what they're going to do is airdrop the version 2 token to your wallet. So if you do have it, you have it in one of your native wallets, hardware wallet, MetaMask, whatever it may be. Remember, that's an ERC20 also. So
So you'll get a copy.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, you'll get a copy on PulseChain, and you're going to get this version 2 just automatically airdrop to yourself. The more interesting thing, what I wanted to know, not that I'm holding any on any exchanges, but I frankly wanted to buy GALA when I saw how low the price got. It was that's the reason for the price drop, because of this new token, or I should say replacement token.
Yeah.
Of the mainstream exchanges, I know Coinbase is actually not going to be supporting that version 2 of it. So if you've got like GALA on there right now, you will lose it. Like, you will not have GALA any longer, because at least at first Coinbase isn't supporting it. So get it into your own custody, as it should have already been ASAP.
Right.
I do know Kraken, which is probably my favorite of the exchanges, is actually supporting it. So I actually just bought some GALA on Kraken the other night. That will turn into the version 2 version of GALA on May the 15th. So,
Good luck.
yeah, just a heads up for anybody that is interested in that at all. So I, just a little bit of a differentiation in the portfolio. I do think it's one that's going to run pretty hot, but just a small part of the portfolio. So just heads up to anybody there. But
Yeah, cool.
Fantastic night. A lot of great news tonight. PulseChain
Yeah.
within 7 days. Any final thoughts you want to leave everybody with, Ewok?
No, I just want to reiterate what we had talked about earlier. I know Andrew showed up late. This will be, like I said, the last stream I do on my Crypto Ewok channel. We're trying to corral everybody over to the Creative Crypto channel. So if you haven't already done so, please subscribe over there, because that's where you will find our weekly Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time streams. And yeah, if you're watching the replay, give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe, share it out, and we appreciate everybody that comes in and watches us every week. So thank you.
Yeah, hit us up. This channel, the artist formerly known as the Boi Crypto channel, we just went ahead and renamed it the Creed of Crypto channel. So we'll still have pretty much the same exact content that was already on here. Just wanted to rebrand it directly to that. I got myself and Ewok's beautiful faces on the banner of the YouTube channel. So hit us up, hit the like, sub to the channel. We very much appreciate it. We don't take it lightly for you guys to come spend an hour and a half with us here every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, this was a big one. We got PulseChain coming within the next 7 days. One thing I can assure you is next week's episode is probably going to be even bigger than this. So
we hope so.
Going to be very interesting. Let's hope that RH doesn't wait until Wednesday of next week to launch it, and we have a little bit of time to maybe digest this before next week. So, man, going to be an entertaining week for sure. So, yeah, hit us up, guys, with the sub. We release this in podcast form also on Spotify, wherever you want to listen to the show. But other than that, for my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok, this has been Boi Crypto. Catch you next week right here on the Creed of Crypto podcast. HexPassiveIncome.com. My friend Crypto Coffee has created what I think is probably the best course for a new cryptocurrency investor. Not only that, but these courses usually charge an arm and a leg. Crypto Coffee is only charging $200. I think right now he actually has a discount for $150. I have a link below in the description. If you are new to crypto, do not understand Hex and how it works, click the link below. It's a quick, easy course. He only gives you the basics. I personally, myself, have thought about creating an intro to crypto course in the past. I don't think there's any reason to do so because Matt, Crypto Coffee, has already taken care of that. And I don't think anything needs to be added by anybody else. So check it out. The link is in the description and sign up to Hex Passive Income today.